I want to tell you a story of a school teacher named Bolotbek. I met him in Sarjal, a village next to the former Soviet nuclear testing site in Kazakhstan, in the Semipalatinsk region. His story is a story of thousands of victims of Soviet nuclear tests. Those tests caused irreversible harm, both in visible and invisible ways. Radiation poisoned land, water, food. Shaking of the ground damaged the houses and the wells. In Bolotbek's family alone, the tragedies are too many for one person to bear. In 1962, Jan Bolotbek and his siblings were eagerly awaiting a baby brother or baby sister, but that baby was stillborn, and stillbirths were very common in that area. Bolotbek thinks that his mother lost the baby because in 61-62, the Soviet Union rushed to conduct as many atmospheric tests as possible because they knew the partial test ban treaty was coming. And of course, stillbirths can be caused by many factors, and we'll never know whether this particular loss can be attributed to nuclear tests. But the next tragedy that came to this family just 5 years later, indisputably is connected to a nuclear test. One day, two of his sisters did not wake up for school. It turned out that an underground nuclear test damaged a chimney in their simple house. A brick fell into a chimney and prevented venting of poisonous gas. Both girls got poisoned by carbon monoxide, and one of them died. Bolotbek's father suffered from stomach cancer. His mother had brain cancer. His brother passed away at the age of 57 from heart disease. And tragically, his son died from suicide when he was in the 9th grade. Bolotbek lost countless friends, neighbors, and classmates. One of his classmates in the 1st grade died from leukemia. Another one succumbed to leukemia when she was just 18. And he has so many stories like that from his youth. "We were kids," he said to me. "Who will protect our rights as children? I wish I knew where to seek justice." In talking about the Soviet government's decision to test nuclear bombs in the Kazakh steppe, Bolotbek asked me, why didn't they choose a desert or a taiga? Why did they have to do experiments on humans? We were lab rats for them. And honestly, I didn't have any answers for him. As a scholar who read the archival documents and studied how the Soviet government chose the Kazakh land to conduct nuclear tests, how it called the land uninhabited, I knew very well that those in power didn't give any thought to the people. People of Kazakhstan didn't have any say in their own fate. Few attempts by prominent Kazakhs and local governors to attract attention of the Soviet government to what was happening in the Semipalatinsk region and the suffering, those attempts were crushed. There was an atmosphere of complete secrecy, fully controlled narrative. And I wondered how someone like Bolotbek, who experienced so many tragedies, how someone like him could find strength to go on living. But actually, he not only found the strength to go on living, in his quiet, defiant way, he continued fighting. In the late 80s, dissent became possible in the Soviet Union, and an incredible grassroots anti-nuclear movement called Nevada Semipalatinsk was born and united the people of Kazakhstan against nuclear tests. Jan Bolotbek joined the movement and fought along others to stop nuclear tests on the Kazakh land. The story of Kazakhstan's anti-nuclear movement, which successfully pushed the Soviet military to stop testing at the site in '89, and which allowed the Kazakh leadership to shut down the site in '91, while Kazakhstan was still part of the Soviet Union, is a story of reclaiming agency. It is a story of the colonized land standing up to its patrons. It is a story of how Kazakhstan made the first step to remove itself from the Soviet nuclear weapons program. As the Soviet Union fell, Kazakhstan found itself with a massive nuclear inheritance, weapons, nuclear material, weapons infrastructure. A newly independent Kazakhstan made the conscious decision to become nuclear-free. It is important that it decided that nuclear weapons should be removed. Without Kazakhstan's decision, the fate of those Soviet nuclear weapons could not be decided, even if Kazakhstan didn't have access to command and control. But I think it's even more important that Kazakhstan decided to remove nuclear material, large amounts of nuclear material, to dismantle weapons infrastructure that it fully controlled. This non-nuclear choice is an integral part of Kazakhstan's national identity, a country that believes nuclear weapons should not exist. Kazakhstan's choice helps change the narrative that nuclear weapons bring more security. Kazakhstan did not feel secure in the early 90s. Actually, it felt very vulnerable, but it decided that a nuclear program would not help with strengthening its sovereignty and independence. Instead, it channeled its energy into attracting foreign direct investment, foreign technology, and getting access to the international community. I'm proud of Kazakhstan's choices, but I'm heartbroken that Kazakhstan will never be able to erase the legacy of the Soviet nuclear tests. Whenever I travel to the areas next to the former Soviet nuclear testing site in Semipalatinsk, I meet the third and the fourth generation of survivors, children who are missing fingers, who suffer from cancer and other diseases. And it is hard for me to reconcile the high-level debates in the nuclear capitals of the world that talk about nuclear weapons as something abstract, with the images of children that I meet there, with the stories that I know from the Marshallese or the downwinders in the United States or Uyghur communities in Xinjiang who suffered from Lopnor test site, and all the other communities around the world that in one way or another are paying the price for nuclear weapons programs. But I'm thrilled to see major shifts in the global nuclear realm, and I think just like people of Kazakhstan reclaimed agency over their own land, non-nuclear weapon states and international civil society reclaimed theirs by making the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons possible. It means so much to me that all these voices I now heard, and I really believe they should be heard, and they're so important because it's our common fate. In a way, we're all hostages as long as nuclear weapons exist and possessed by a few. And this feeling of being hostages, I think it especially came to the forefront with Russia's war against Ukraine. An unprovoked war in the 21st century is an abomination. A war in which a nuclear power, Russia, is engaged in nuclear saber rattling is beyond irresponsible. And since the war started, I get questions on a regular basis. What would happen if Russia uses a tactical nuclear weapon on the battlefield, or if a conventional war grows into a nuclear exchange between nuclear powers? And it's almost as though I have a physical reaction that I don't want to answer. It literally makes me sick. And I think the question should be, how did we get here? How, in 2022, we're talking about nuclear use? And I just want to leave you with a final message, I guess. I really believe we should all be united in reclaiming our agency, in deciding our fate, and make it impossible for a few who possess nuclear weapons to keep us all hostages. Thank you.